what if Kobe actually does get traded? May 2007, the Lakers have moved on from Shaq for several years now. He goes to Miami. He gets the title. Kobe is putting up 36 points a night. He's playing with guys like Smush Parker, right? They're losing in the first round. He goes on Stephen A's radio show. He requests a trade, which is honestly, like, in this day and age, it's very hard. It's very hard to fathom. Like, we get trade requests from players, through agents, through reporters, and you just see it on a tweet, and all of a sudden at like 10 o'clock at night, it's like, oh, Kevin Durant requested a trade, right? And like the internet goes crazy for like 20 minutes.
Can you imagine someone like Devin Booker hopping on this podcast being like, yeah, that's what trade me?
He's on Club 520. Like Club 520, he's like, I want to be a Bull. That's crazy.
Exactly. And so you go on national radio, you say, I want to be traded. And his top spot was he wanted to go to the Bulls. He wanted to play, right? You already know, like, he loves MJ. He wants to go fill the shoes. I think that the outcome, if he does get traded, is that we look at Kobe Bryant in the same light as Kyrie Irving.
Oh,
I think that Kobe's career.
It's a rude turn.
I get it though. I get it.
I think Kobe's career is, if he gets traded to Chicago, is an elevated version of Kyrie, where from all the players who play against him, you are still going to get he's the most skilled player of all time. He was insanely hard to guard, all of that. But the success that he had early on, the rings, you're always going to look at them and say, yeah, but you had Shaq next to you. There's always going to be that asterisk.
Yep.
And then the 3 years that he was by himself, right, on that team, they're getting beat in the first round. Yeah, he's scoring, but now you look at him and you're like, oh, you tried to do the Michael Jordan Mamba mentality thing and try to just be a jerk to your teammates. It doesn't really work. You're not a leader.
This is so good.
You're not who you think that you are. And if you look at the roster that the Bulls had going
You're
into
in your bag right now.
Going into that season, it's Shannon Brown, Luol Deng, Chris Duhon, Drew Gooden, Ben Gordon, Ben Wallace, Joe Smith, Tyrese Thomas, Kirk Heinrich, Larry Hughes, all these guys, a young Joakim Noah. If you are trading all of that, right, a good portion of that for Kobe Bryant, the team is now deflated, and now you are in Lakers East. And now you have Kobe Bryant going into Michael Jordan's house, not able to live up to the standard that he just set a decade prior. He gets no rings. He continues to be a fantastic scorer, but now that is all you are. You are no longer winner guy, do it all at whatever cost. And so that's what I'm saying. The way that we look at Kyrie now that he's been elevated, that's the version, and that's the way that we look at Kobe if he gets traded. And so he's not top 10 all time. He's not some people's, well, he probably still would be people's coach, but he's not consensus top 10. He's more consensus top 25, right? Like he'd probably be around where Dwayne Wade is. And then you really have the battle between him and Wade for who's the best guard in the league, because while Kobe's winning titles in LA and Wade's going out in the first round, now they're doing the same thing for the second half of that decade. And so you can make that argument.
The Kyrie comparison is so good. Like the fact that he wins next to the best player of his era and is a sidekick, but a qualified sidekick, and then is terrible on his own, and then gets another opportunity and is probably terrible on his own. Because the part you didn't mention here is, yes, the Bulls roster is terrible. And if you want to be positive, you can say they'll probably have cap space. They can go out and get these guys in the late 2010s that moved around. Maybe they can convince Dwayne Wade to come team up with them. Maybe they can convince LeBron to come team up with them. The Bulls are inept and have been inept for so long.
There's an 8-year
and
stretch.
The only good thing that's happened to them since Michael Jordan left is falling face first into Derrick Rose. And while Kobe Bryant wouldn't have done a fucking thing with that terrible roster, he would have been just good enough to make sure they don't get Derrick Rose. So it would have been misery, and it would have been utter failure. And I think it's important that you said an elevated version of Kyrie, because people are going to hear that and be like, how dare you? It is an elevated version. Kyrie's not a top 20 player of all time. Kobe would be, but he would be like 20 to 25-ish instead of top 10.
Exactly.
And that's such a good comparison, man. Like, I didn't even think about this one. Wow. Like, his legacy is entirely, I didn't say that because it's because of him, but is saved by the fact that Jerry Buss was like, Kobe, shut the fuck up and come play basketball.
The second half, like you look at, and it, like you look at the jersey retirement and people, you put up the stats between 8 and 24, and the second half of his career is obviously like just as good. It's a Hall of Fame career. Three finals appearances, a back-to-back title. He gets the MVP in the second half of the year. So like all of that stuff that he gets in the second half of his career with the Lakers, that's not there if you go to Chicago. And so you have basically like, even if you want to be generous, 65% of what he did, of all the amazing stuff that he did in the second half of his career is now gone. And he can no longer sit at the table with Magic, Jordan, Kareem, and having 5.
He's Scottie Pippen.
Exactly. He can't sit at the table with Tim Duncan, right? Because Tim would have 5. And Tim might have more because he was losing to Kobe and the Lakers. So you have all that. And then the thing on top of that is the other conversation is the people that you talk about him with in that era, where it's Kobe, it's Dirk, it's Tim, and it's like Steph and all these guys who are with one team. And it's like, oh my gosh, like they're so loyal, this and that. There's so many decisions that happen in the NBA that don't get made to where—
I'm glad you said this.
To where like people are like, oh my gosh, he's so loyal. How Tim Duncan almost left the Spurs, right?
Hold on.
Kobe,
Okay.
All
Good
this.
transition. Don't step on my pick, because that is my pick on my list.